Road course racing in NASCAR about a decade ago was pretty much treated as an afterthought. Up until 2018, the Cup Series would head to the same two venues every single year, Sonoma Raceway and Watkins Glen International. Yeah, there used to be other road races like Riverside Park and even exhibition races in Japan, but those have been long gone. For example, 2 of 36 races is a measly 5% of the entire schedule. NASCAR is an oval series, and you either were good at road course racing or you were not. Yes, NASCAR drivers do indeed turn right sometimes. However, in 2018, the Cup Series would finally get a new road course, the Charlotte Roval, a road course oval. Instead of running Charlotte's second date on the oval, NASCAR decided to run the infield road course that Charlotte Motor Speedway has. And it was a massive success, brewing absolute carnage and providing us with one of the best finishes in NASCAR history.
Locks the brakes up,
and he's
going to slide. He slides through the middle. Truex gets tagged. Now it'll be a fight for the finish line. Ryan Blaney in the 12 will win.
From this point on, there would be a push by both the fans and NASCAR themselves to make the schedule more diverse in upcoming years. 2020. The world shuts down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. NASCAR miraculously was still able to run a full 36 race schedule. However, they would have to make changes to the schedule on a fly because of COVID restrictions and differing COVID laws depending on the area. Most notably, both Sonoma and Watkins Glen would lose their dates. The only road race was going to be the playoff race at the Charlotte Roval, but NASCAR made the decision to add a new road course to the schedule. Just a couple weeks before the start of the playoffs, NASCAR would run on the Daytona Road Course, another Roval rather than an actual road course, but it was still nice to see a different style of racing at Daytona. Chase Elliott would win in the first ever Daytona Road Course race. Still fluctuating between 2 to 3 road races a year, no massive changes have happened yet. That is until 2021. NASCAR completely overhauled the schedule prior to the 2021 season, adding a dirt race, bringing back Nashville Super Speedway, reducing some tracks from 2 dates to just 1, and most notable of all, a ton of road course races. The Circuit of the Americas and Road America would be added to the schedule for the very first time. On top of that, NASCAR would now be running on the Indy Road Course instead of the Oval to try and add some life back into NASCAR at Indianapolis. The Daytona Road Course would make a return not only as a point state, but amazingly as the venue to host the NASCAR Clash. The Clash was always run on the Daytona Oval, but in recent years it has lost all of its prestige due to a lack of driver etiquette and an amazing improvement in safety. With these 4 new road races, on top of Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and the Charlotte Roval, there would be a whopping 7 road course races on the schedule, 8 if you count the exhibition Clash race. 7 out of 36 races is nearly 20% of the schedule. Remember, this was during the playoff era. If you could snag a singular win and maintain a spot in the top 30 in points, you would punch your ticket into the playoffs. Some drivers excel at this style of racing, while some do not. Some drivers were even known to be good at road course races only, due to having a different racing background before entering NASCAR. Take AJ Allmendinger or Marcus Ambrose. With 7 opportunities to win on the road in 2021, everyone's chances at a win were as great as ever. However, for one driver, these 7 races could not have possibly gone worse. Enter Brad Keselowski. 36 Cup Series wins, and counting. Your 2012 Cup Series champion, your 2010 O'Reilly Series champion, a Brickyard 400 winner, a Southern 500 winner, a Bristol Night Race winner, a Coca-Cola 600 winner. There isn't much Brad hasn't done. He currently co-owns Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, and at the ripe age of 42, Brad is still putting up great results, along with his 2 other cars. Brad Keselowski is one of those generational talents in which he has many strengths and very few weaknesses. 2 things are missing from Brad Keselowski's amazing resume: a Daytona 500 win and a road course win. If Brad has any weaknesses at all, it would be road course racing. Before the 2021 season, Brad was winless at these tracks. However, for his entire career, he only had 2 to 3 attempts a season during an era where there was barely an emphasis on getting good at road racing. He really wasn't even bad at these tracks. He notably had 3 consecutive runner-up finishes from 2011 to 2013 at Watkins Glen, in which he was literally a half a lap away from winning in 2012.
A nudge, a push. Can Ambrose save it? To the checkered flag. Who gets here first?
Clear.
Ambrose 9, Keselowski 2, final corner. Marcos Ambrose is going to win at Watkins Glen in a remarkable last lap turn of events.
He would be outdueled by road course ace Marcos Ambrose. On top of that, during the inaugural Charlotte Roval race in 2018, he was the leader on a restart with just a handful of laps to go, until he drove his car into the Tums heartburn turn.
And 2 hard through 1. Keselowski, Larson both into the wall. They pile up in the Tums heartburn turn. Caution coming out again.
2021 was Brad's best shot at a road course win. Coming off a fantastic season in 2020, winning 4 races and coming up just 1 spot short of a championship at Phoenix. Penske re-signed Brad for a 1-year deal in 2021 due to his 2020 successes. One thing I want to note here is how starting lineups were determined in 2021. Due to COVID still being a thing, NASCAR would determine starting lineups based off of a metric. This metric averages out a driver's position in points, the driver's most recent finish, the owner's most recent finish, and the driver's fastest lap from the previous race. They did this for 28 out of the 36 races in 2021, and most of the races that had an actual practice and qualifying consisted of the new venues such as Road America and the Indy Road Course. The Daytona Road Course was up first for the Clash on a Tuesday night just a few days before the Daytona 500, February 9th. Brad Keselowski would start 4th, due to the lineup being determined via a random draw. I won't go into this race as much as the others, simply because there were no points on the line. Not to mention, it was only a 21 car field instead of the usual 36 to 40 cars. Brad would lose some spots early, but he would eventually make his way up to 2nd due to Ryan Blaney going wide and Kurt Busch missing the corner completely. This would be the highest he ran all day. He maintained a spot in the top 5 to 10 for a majority of the race. Not having the speed to win, Brad would pit for tires on the final caution, hoping to gain some spots on that last run. On track for at least the top 10, Brad would spin going through the backstretch chicane. Fox did not show a replay of the Brad Keselowski spin because they were more focused on the Alex Bowman and Chris Buescher crash that literally happened 10 seconds later.
And Brad Keselowski has spun from 8th place at the bus stop.
You know, Jeff, the Roval put in turf right there.
Oh, goes around. Oh, and he clipped Bowman.
As Kyle Busch got around Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney in the final corner, Brad would finish a disappointing 17th.
It's a drag race to the line. Kyle Busch is going to steal the Busch Clash.
How about that?
Oh, I did not see that one.
Hey, I thought they were buddies.
I thought they were. Not anymore. Not tonight, anyway.
Brad Keselowski would endure his most heartbreaking loss just a few days later in the Daytona 500, as he was only a half a lap away from finally winning it. He timed everything right, but his teammate Joey Logano threw a desperate block. Usually, it would be months for NASCAR to return to Daytona. However, the Cup Series would return the very next week for the Daytona Road Course. February 21st. Brad would start 15th at the Daytona Road Course. This was set by the Metrik system that I mentioned earlier. With a lack of practice and qualifying, it was easy to tell that Brad was having a hard time with his race car. Early in the race, he nearly ran over Ross Chastain and would have to come to a complete stop due to missing the chicane. The competition caution would fly soon after. Just in case you don't know, NASCAR would throw a competition caution early in races that lacked practice and qualifying, so the teams had a chance to check on tire wear, fuel, and other things. After a restart, he nearly wrecked after being blocked by Christopher Bell, but kept his car on the racetrack. Every time the broadcast was focused on Brad, he seemed to always be locking up his tires.
It's a pleasure here.
Man, I don't know how many sets of tires the two's going to have left after all these lockups.
Which one of the right it is in the class? Not bad though. Copy, just manage your lead. Take care of those tires, please.
While he was on older tires, he held on to finish 4th in the opening stage. Chase Elliott was by far the best car of the day. And on the contrary, Brad was stuck mid-pack with an ill-handling car. A spin or crash was inevitable at this point.
Brad.
On lap 41, Keselowski would go for a spin after contact with Kurt Busch. Any track position Brad had was now gone. He would have finished poorly. However, the NASCAR gods threw him a bone. A caution was thrown for a very brief rain shower. Brad would get track position by staying out after the rain caution, and it ended up working out for him. These late race restarts tend to spice things up, and luckily Brad was able to stay ahead of the chaos and bring it home in 5th place.
Tyler Reddick. Oh, Chase Elliott in the grass.
This is exactly what we were talking about. Have to stay off of him. No! Slid the front tire, got into the Christopher Bell, away he went.
Needs to do, but now Larson going into second. Remember? Larson wheel hops.
Oh, no. Into the tire wall.
Oh, Brad's off the track.
No way he makes this corner. No way he makes this. Man, he made it.
Man.
The 9 of Chase Elliott.
So he knows he's going to do the crossover. Denny Hamlin just goes to fill that hole.
It would be Christopher Bell taking his first Cup Series checkered flag.
Christopher Bell scores his first career win, and it comes on the Daytona Road Course.
Oh my God. Thank you guys. Great job, Adam. Great job, Hickory. Holy smoke. I'm so proud of you.
You're probably thinking that finishing 5th is great, which it is. But if it weren't for the rain caution that arguably didn't need to be a caution, Brad was looking at a sub-30th place finish. Not a clean race at all, but this would be his best road course finish all year. It just gets worse. Between this race and the next road course race at the Circuit of the Americas, Brad would win his only race of the season in April at Talladega. This has nothing to do with road courses, but I thought I should point out that from here on out, Brad has a secured spot in the playoffs. May 23rd. The first race at the Circuit of the Americas was plagued by rain, allowing drivers the option to either run the regular tires or the rain tires. Trust me, you would absolutely need rain tires for this race. Being the first COTA race, this race actually had qualifying, and Brad was only able to muster up a 24th place starting spot, by far the worst of the Penske cars. For a few of the road course races in 2021, Penske would field a 4th part-time entry for young prospect Austin Cindric driving the number 33 car. Brad would be the worst Penske car in terms of speed for all 3 of the road course races in which Penske had 4 entries. Brad was a mid-pack car all day, and due to always pitting before the end of the stages, he would earn no stage points. During stage 2, the rain picked up to the point that no one could see down the longest and fastest part of the track. These dangerous conditions caused a couple massive accidents.
No, we're not even to the corner. He lifted because of that.
Yeah, you know what happened? He let off early because he didn't know where the braking zone was. At 19,
Yep.
same situation. Wow.
And right under him, and into the wall. Goes the 40. Oh my gosh.
Cole Custer, nowhere to go there. Big fire.
Brad was able to get through them all. Brad was not free from adversity though, as on lap 36 during the final stage, he was spun by Ryan Newman.
I think he elected out of that situation.
Whoa, he got in the paint, went extra wide.
Oh, Brad Keselowski turned around.
Everybody will get by as the spotters are up there at turn 10. This is 11, so the second group of spotters has a good view of that.
Again, any track position Brad thought he might have had was instantly gone. Brad eventually made his final pit stop to get to the finish, but the rain eventually got so bad that NASCAR had to stop the race. During the time of the red flag, Brad was running 19th, and that is where he would finish. The race was called, Chase Elliott would be your winner, and on the bright side, Brad had a race car in one piece.
There is Chase Elliott, and he is the winner of the Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix. Due to inclement weather, the race has been called with 14 to go.
June 6th, just 2 weeks after the race at COTA, NASCAR would return to a road course. This time it would be Sonoma Raceway in California. The starting lineup for Sonoma was set by the Metrik system once again. Keselowski would start 9th after having a good finish in last week's Coke 600. Brad basically ran 10th to 20th all day. No one had anything for the 5 of Kyle Larson, as he would go on to win both of the stages and the race. Brad was able to get a few stage points in stage 2, finishing the stage out in 8th.
They're going for it.
Stage 2 to Kyle Larson. Joey Logano's about 6.2 seconds back. Alex Bowman a second behind him. Kurt Busch leads Chase Elliott across the line. Then it's Byron, Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Hamilton.
Keselowski was actually having a very good race, as during the final stage he was running comfortably in the top 10. He would bring his car to pit road with around 20 laps to go for what was going to be the last stop of the day. Being the first car to come down pit road, he would catch a massive break. The 00 of Quinn Half stalled on the racetrack, bringing out the caution. Luckily, Brad was already on pit road before the caution was called. Every other lead lap car was going to have to pit under this yellow. However, since Keselowski already made his pit stop and stayed on the lead lap, he would have been the leader on the next restart. Who knows? Maybe he would have been able to hold off the dominant Kyle Larson. Sadly, this is 2021 Brad Keselowski, and he had literally zero luck on road courses.
When the caution came out, Brad Keselowski was on pit road. That was judged a legal stop. However, they had equipment over the wall too soon for the number 2, so he will restart in the back after they serve their first pit road penalty of this season.
He would slowly work his way up into the top 20, and after a few late race cautions, Brad was able to escape any major incident and bring it home in 15th place. He actually took the white flag at 20th, so Brad gained an impressive 5 spots on the last lap. This was due to avoiding this last corner incident between Michael McDowell and Daniel Suarez. This was by far the cleanest Brad Keselowski ran on a road course all season. The only road course race of the season that Brad didn't go for a spin or get involved in any major incident. That being said, a guaranteed top 10 was lost.
1-2 finishes 4 races in a row as Kyle Larson wins at Sonoma.
And he's excited about it. See him go sideways there as he crossed the line.
July 4th. The NASCAR Cup Series was headed to the legendary Road America on July 4th weekend. Due to it being a new track for all of these drivers, practice and qualifying would make a return. During the one and only practice session, Keselowski would go for a wild spin. Fortunately, he would not hit anything. It just showed us that he was trying to get all he could out of his race car. He wasn't the only veteran having trouble, as 2-time champion Kyle Busch would destroy his car in practice. Keselowski would qualify a mid-20th, the worst of the Penske cars once again. Come race day, Keselowski ran around 20th in the opening stage. He made his pit stop before the end of Stage 1 in hopes of gaining some track position in Stage 2. They didn't mention it on the broadcast, but something happened to Brad either during or after his scheduled stop in which he had to come back down pit road. A penalty? A loose wheel? I couldn't figure it out. On the Stage 2 restart, Brad was all the way back in the 30s. He should have cycled out much further up in the running order. Any die-hard Keselowski fans out there, if you know why he had to restart in the back to begin Stage 2, please let me know. The 33 of Austin Cindric and the 21 of Matt DiBenedetto battled for the lead in Stage 2, while Brad was back in 30th. Basically, two Penske cars leading the charge. In typical 2021 fashion, Brad Keselowski would go for another spin.
Backwards, I think that's turn 14.
And that's the second or third time we've seen Brad Keselowski spin around at this racetrack.
To add insult to injury for Penske Racing, Austin Cindric would also loop his car around just a lap later. Coming to the end of Stage 2, Keselowski tried to get some stage points, this time by staying out. He was too far back and missed a stage point by a singular spot. Brad actually had some speed, it's just that nothing has gone right for him in this race. In the last stage, he slowly worked his way back into the top 20. Due to a spin by Anthony Alfredo, a caution would come out. Bunching the field up, this gave Brad the opportunity to continue his rebound. He would pit for tires, and he would methodically make his way up through the field and finish a solid 13th, the highest of the Penske cars actually. Chase Elliott was dominant and took home the win. While 13th isn't anything to write home about, I would personally consider it a small victory for Brad Keselowski considering the day he had.
Of the Cup Series, it's the 7th road course win. Chase Elliott wins at Road America.
Great pit stop.
August 8th. Watkins Glen was back on the schedule after being absent the year prior. Fun fact, I was actually at this race, and I would meet Steve Letarte and Rick Allen at a nearby bar. Nice. Keselowski actually had some good fortune. Due to a very good race at New Hampshire the week prior, the Metrik system would earn Brad the pole. All three Penske cars started 1, 2, 3 as Cindric did not compete in this race. This was easily the best chance at a road course dub for Keselowski. Not to mention, he at this point has 3 runner-up finishes at this track. However, with no practice or qualifying, teams didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
That's on the line, as well as the cut line between the RCR drivers. What you've been waiting for? The green flag, and there it is. Radio style from Watkins Glen. Up front, the Penske drivers will fight for a perfect position through turn number 1. Right now, Keselowski has it. Logano follows him through 1 and headed toward the S's.
He would hold up a few cars on the opening 10-lap stint as they were racing to the competition caution. Joey Logano and Kyle Larson are literally breathing down his neck, and it's clear that Brad's car isn't as fast as the guys behind him. He was trying so hard to keep the lead, racing to the caution flag. With just 2 more corners to go, Keselowski would lose it.
Did not get through the carousel very well, but did it good enough to keep Logano behind him. Oh, really loose, he's spinning! He's spinning right in front of me, around he goes! He gets it straight back out, get that thing in first gear and get it rolling!
Luckily, Brad was able to quickly correct his car, and he only fell back to 6th place. He would pit under the competition caution. At this point, Brad was reporting that he was indeed having brake issues. Keselowski was very close to getting stage points in the first stage, but came up just a little bit short. Races with no practice and no qualifying are like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you are going to get. Teams only have past setups and simulation data to go by. It wasn't just Brad, though. All the Penske cars had issues despite starting up front. Ryan Blaney went for a spin due to his own brake issues, and Joey Logano would slowly drop spots after winning the first stage. By the end of Stage 2, Brad is now outside the top 20. Martin Truex, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson put on a great fight for the lead. Keselowski is now back in 15th, but his issues are far from over.
Oh, we got trouble over here. 2 Penske cars off it.
The 2 of Brad Keselowski with damage on the right rear bumper. The 22 of Joey Logano leaving. It's chaos. We have pit road busy. Cars spinning on the racetrack. Let's take a look at what happens. We're going to see 2 cars on pit road. Once again, the 2 of Brad Keselowski consistently having braking issues. And who does he hit? His own teammate.
Keselowski would wheel hop going into turn 1 and would wipe out his teammate Joey Logano. This would destroy the end of Brad's car. The race would stay green, meaning that Brad would lose valuable time due to the crash. Penske as a whole had so much promise for this race, and it would end up being a disaster. He would get his worst finish of the year on the road, finishing 35th out of 37 cars. To rub even more salt on the wound, he would get lapped before the end of the race by the dominant Kyle Larson. Getting lapped at a road course is way harder than any other type of track, due to the longer lap times and lots of off-throttle time.
Season for the driver of the 5. Kyle Larson comes out of 7 for the final time, and Larson is going to win at the Glen.
Oh yeah, guys. Good job today.
August 15th. Literally the very next race, NASCAR would be running the Indianapolis Road Course, replacing the Brickyard 400. This would be the first ever Cup Series race around the Indy Roval, ending a near 30-year tradition of running the oval configuration. The racing had been heavily criticized for so many years, and attendance was dwindling. NASCAR had decided to change things up. The oval race would return though in 2024. Qualifying and practice would return, and Brad would once again be the slowest of the Penske cars, qualifying an abysmal 31st. Running towards the back in the opening stage, Brad would not pit before the end of stage 1, granting him 5 stage points. Usually drivers have 2 approaches to road course racing. You either pit before the stage cautions, giving up stage points but gaining track position for the next stage, or you stay out to get stage points, pit under the caution, and start the next stage in the back. However, for some random, unexplainable reason, Keselowski wouldn't come down into the pits during the caution. Like, I understand trying to maintain track position, but you are going to get swallowed up on older tires. Remember, he had a win at this point. What strategy was the 2 team trying to cook up? As predicted, Keselowski was just trying to hang on, and held up the leaders, causing a fantastic battle for the lead between several cars.
Chase to the inside of the 24 coming down to turn 10. Chase Elliott took full advantage of Keselowski kind of holding up the 24. Chase Elliott underneath Keselowski. William Byron pushing him.
It's too nice for that
Logano wants to
guy.
get into the fun.
Chase Elliott fighting for the lead now. Brad Keselowski has it, but here comes Elliott to the inside. Before they come out onto the front stretch, he's trying to make the pass. Up through the gears they go again. Chase Elliott trying to take the lead away from Keselowski.
In just 2 laps, he goes from 2nd to outside the top 10. It was clear that this strategy was simply not going to work. While he was running towards the back before the pit strategy, at this rate, he was going to be at the back of the field anyway due to the older tires. As he continues to fall back, he would lose the car and slam the outside wall, destroying the rear end. He would continue on. Running near last, and now with a damaged race car, it looked as if Brad was going to finish deep in the field, but a debris caution would come out with around 10 laps to go. This curb ripped the underside of a passing car, and the curb is still not done. This curb, bro. This curb was causing drivers issues all weekend. All I'm going to say is that this curb was hungry for some race cars. Keselowski's on the lead lap, so maybe he can gain some spots before it's all said and done. Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe benefited from this caution, as they both pitted right before the yellow flag. Everybody else would have to pit. The 14 and the 11 would fight for the lead on the restart with just a few laps to go. Martin Truex Jr. spins through that same corner, and debris from the curb and passing race cars fly everywhere. No caution. NASCAR didn't know this, but the curb that caused the previous yellow flag is now destroyed, and sticking out like a sore thumb. A dumpster fire is about to ensue. As the field makes their way back around, the curb feasts.
Into 5 and turn 6.
All of that contact between the two leaders is allowed. Oh, the 24 is spinning. The 24's, there's multiple cars into the wall here. There must be oil or some kind of fluid down on the racetrack right there in turn. We got more cars coming in.
William Byron is reporting that the curb came up. He hit the curb in the 24.
The exposed curb destroyed so many race cars, forcing NASCAR to display the red flag. After nearly 20 minutes, NASCAR would remove the curb and resume the race. Keselowski is now in the top 20 as he was able to narrowly avoid the chaos. This would put the race into overtime. Another opportunity for Keselowski to gain some spots. Another massive wreck would ensue, in the exact same spot as the last pileup. And once again, Brad and his battered race car was able to navigate through all of the carnage. With a smaller field and many cars having damage, Brad has a legit chance of earning a top 10. Sadly, on the final overtime restart, in typical 2021 fashion, the curb corner would cause one more wreck, and this time it was at the expense of Brad Keselowski.
The race car when it happened, but they're back on course. Battle for the lead. Well, now exits turn 5 and 6, and Brian Newman gets the curbing in turn 6.
Down the back straightaway, there's smoke out of the 11 car. It's all clear now, though.
He would just barely clip the grass and would spin into the tire barrier. He would finish back in 24th. AJ Allmendinger took advantage of the 11 and 14 having their issues and would go on to pull off an upset. Just a mess of a race overall, and it looked like Brad was at least going to salvage a decent finish. This was one of the most unbelievable and unpredictable road course races ever, and Brad Keselowski's up and down day was a perfect representation of the race as a whole.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway, another chapter written into the Indy history books. AJ Allmendinger will cross the yard of bricks, the winner of the first ever road course race for the Cup Series.
Let's go!
October 10th. The last road course race of the season at the Charlotte Roval was arguably the most important, as it was not only a playoff race, but also a playoff cutoff race, meaning after this race, the 12 remaining championship contenders would be narrowed down to just 8. Keselowski qualified into the playoffs earlier in the season with his win at Talladega, and he easily made the round of 12. Brad would enter this race a comfortable 20 points above the cutoff line due to solid races at both Las Vegas and the previous week at Talladega. However, if you couldn't tell at this point, road course races have been a mess for the 2 team this year, and the odds weren't really in his favor. Once again, due to the Metrik system, Brad would have a solid P2 starting spot, but this would be the highest he ran all day. All 12 of the remaining playoff drivers would have guaranteed top 12 starting spots. And it did not take long for Keselowski to run into trouble.
2 seconds. So in theory, these 4 fresh Goodyear tires should show up quickly in this run. And Chris Gabehart told him, hey, our philosophy is simple. We want 1 playoff point. Oh, a spin by Brad Keselowski.
Keselowski around.
Get a point in, go ahead. There's a double eye coming here. Wait.
On road courses, the caution
right,
won't come out
more,
if you can continue on, and Keselowski's going to be able to continue on, it looks like.
Here, buddy, get it fired up.
Just a few laps into the race, he would spin going through the backstretch chicane. All of his track position gone. Keselowski would earn no stage points in the first stage, and now he only sits 4 points above the cutoff line. After this spin by Chase Briscoe in the second stage, Brad is now below the cutoff line. He would flip some strategy at the end of stage 2, earning him 4 valuable stage points, but in return, he would sacrifice track position for the start of the final stage. Chase Elliott would get wrecked by Kevin Harvick as payback for an incident a few weeks prior, which for the time being took the 9 out of the round of 8, helping Brad dearly. Keselowski remained only a couple spots above the cutoff line as he continued to run towards the middle of the pack. After a restart with 20 laps to go, Brad would get sent around once again.
Back there in the back of the pack. Oh, the 2 cars spun out. Brad Keselowski goes around. Oh, he gets the car right. In very lucky situation, no contact. This is a huge point story. Looking on the left-hand side, Keselowski drops. He's now in the red, 3 points behind. Harvick in.
He didn't hit anything, and he continued on. He would need a miracle to keep his championship hopes alive. Ironically, it was Ross Chastain who locked his tires up, nearly driving into the 2 car. Roles reversed from the Daytona Road Course earlier in the year. With another caution, Keselowski came to pit road to get some tires. Below the cutoff line once again, Brad was going to be on the offense with new tires. As the laps wound down, a miracle would happen for Brad Keselowski.
You're getting ready to find out because the 9 has a run on the 19 of Truex, and the 9 is going to force his way in. Oh, the 4 is going to miss the corner.
He misses it into the DeWalt wall. Kevin Harvick hard. The right front of the caution comes out.
Fearing payback from earlier, Kevin Harvick would slam turn 1 as Chase Elliott was breathing down his neck. This would basically guarantee Keselowski a spot in the round of 8, as Kevin Harvick's car was destroyed. Brad was now nearly 30 points above the cutoff line due to Kevin Harvick's crash. Kyle Larson won yet another road course race and would go on to win the 2021 Cup Series championship with a whopping 10-win season. Brad only finished 20th, but that had to be the best feeling 20th place finish ever.
Going to become the first driver ever in the Cup Series to win 3 road course races in the same season. Kyle Larson, through the chicane for the final time, he will win at the Charlotte Roval.
Today, guys, I did not...
Keselowski would be eliminated in the round of 8 and would move from Penske Racing to Roush Fenway Racing in 2022, becoming an owner driver. He has only won a single race at his new team, but that doesn't tell the full story. As a co-owner, he has helped Roush become relevant once again, not to mention all 3 of the RFK cars are currently in the chase, with Brad Keselowski holding on to a top 10 point spot while still nursing a broken leg. Without a doubt in my mind, a first ballot Hall of Famer. However, to this day, he is still searching for that first road course win. In 7 races, not counting the Clash, Brad's best finish was 5th, his only top 5 and top 10 on the road courses all season. Counting the Clash, he was spun around 11 times. Even after all of this trouble, he still managed a top 20 average finish across all of the road course races. It seemed that throughout these races, Brad Keselowski was struggling with the brakes particularly, hence all of the wheel hops and tire lockups. I know I say the words chaos and chaotic a lot in these videos, but those road course races for the 2 team in 2021 were the literal definition of chaos. Again, just a random video that popped in my mind. Watching that 2021 season, I was like, Brad's spinning again? Brad's spinning again? It just kept happening. I miss Brad Keselowski in that 2 car, man. He's doing a great job in the 6, and RFK is actually good again, but Keselowski was one of those guys, as a huge Jeff Gordon fan. Yeah, I didn't like him. Texas 2014's calling. But as the years slowly went on, I became a fan of Brad Keselowski. And he's arguably one of my favorite drivers. But 2021 Brad Keselowski on the road courses was on absolute demon time.